Veterans Chronicles is sponsored by the state of Qatar, representing Qatar's commitment to the U.S.
Welcome to Veterans Chronicles. I'm Greg Columbus, honored to be joined today by U.S. Army Sergeant First Class Ramon Padilla. And sir, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, sir.
He's a veteran of Iraq and Afghanistan. But let's begin at the beginning of your story, because it's a little bit different than most folks. Where were you born and raised?
Yes, sir. I was born in Tijuana, Mexico, and I came to the States being sponsored by my uncle at the age of 2. We ended up living in the L.A. area. Grew up in L.A. area and joined the military when I turned 25.
Now, before that, you worked as a police volunteer.
Yes, I did work for the Almani Police Department, the volunteer program they have there. So I used to help them translate because my town was 80% Hispanic, and I used to do a lot of translating for them. And I used to help out a lot of the people that with their paperwork when they receive citations or when they need to register cars or anything like that that has to do with the community. I would go out there and help out.
Now, did that public service increase your interest in serving in the military?
Yes, it did. As a matter of fact, at one time I was like, okay, I've been taking a lot from this country and I haven't given back. And with the help of the Almani Police Department, with Chief Weldon and Lieutenant Dan Burlingham, they were able to help me out to join the military and to do something in plans to do about 4 to 6 years and come back and become a police officer for the city of El Monte.
So you joined the service. You said you were 25?
Yes, sir.
Why did you choose the Army?
Why did I choose the Army? I think they were the only ones that took me in at that time. It's hard to remember. It's been a while. But I did have a chance to go into the Navy as well. But something attracted me about the Army. You know, you see those commercials. You know, at the time, it's be all you can be. So I guess that's what I was trying to do.
So what year did you enlist?
I enlisted in 2000.
And where did you go do your training after that?
Well, my basic training was at Fort Benning in Georgia, which was an eye-opening experience. The first day, what the heck am I doing here? Why am I here? And how could I get out? But soon after you got used to the yelling, all the push-ups and all the running and all the early wake-up calls, you start getting, used to it, and they break you down, they build you back up. And it felt great. It felt fantastic. And being one of the most elder recruits there, I was more seasoned in life, so I was able to help and mentor a bunch of the privates, which I was as well. But I knew when to say when and when not to do stuff that I wasn't supposed to be doing.
That's one of the advantages of being a few years older.
Yes, sir.
A little wiser, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. And what unit were you in?
I was with the 173rd Airborne Brigade out of Italy, down in Vicenza, at Camp Ederly. I was there from 2006 until I was medically retired in 2009.
What did that mean you did? Did you jump?
Yes. I was airborne infantry with Battle Company, 173rd, 2nd 503rd. The 173rd has a great history in Vietnam and in the Gulf War and the Iraq and Afghanistan War. And they were known as hard chargers. And they were sent to places where nobody should be sent, I guess, I'm assuming. But it was fun and it was great. It was challenging. It really was to transition from mechanized to airborne. But, they just tell you to go and you got to jump out of that plane or else they kick you out. So you got no choice.
When were you in Iraq and where?
I went to Iraq in 2005 with 211 down from Fort Irwin, California, non-deployable unit that deployed to Iraq. But it was tough. That was a tough outing out there because we had to train all the units coming in to get ready to go to Iraq or Afghanistan. On top of that, we had to train ourselves. So a lot of less family time. At the time, I had 4 kids already, and it was tough. It wasn't hard. It was hard. It wasn't easy, and it's challenging. It really is challenging. And when I was in Iraq, we were all over the place. So they sent us to Adamia, then they sent us down to West Iraq. Then we ended up at Abu Ghraib, and we were there for I think 6 months for the end of our tour. So it was a learning experience. Every spot where you go to is something new you don't know. Unfortunately, we did lose a soldier, but that's war, and that's part of being in the military.
You mentioned at Abu Ghraib. Was that before or after the controversy?
That was actually after the controversy, and Sure enough, first thing they said, stay away from the jails. Part of the area, don't get close to it. So, but we were busy doing a lot of work. We were 12 on, 12 off, 12 on, 12 off, and it was nonstop. It really was, and it was a tough outing, but it's a job that we signed up to do, and at the end of the day, I believe that we did our job out there, and we protected a bunch of people from Iraq, and I'm happy. I was happy the way things went.
What was the first combat experience like for you?
Well, my first combat experience was about 2 weeks into it. We were replacing a unit, and we were at one of the fire bases that we were going to close down. So there's 3 trucks that came in that started firing on us, and then we went in an all-out firefight with them, shot back. It was an eye-opening experience as I heard buzzing going over my head. I heard binks, I heard thunks, and I was asking, "What's that?" He goes, "Those are rounds hitting that are hitting next to us or flying over us," and that really woke you up. It's like, oh my God, now I can see in the night. So it was an eye opener. It was a different experience, and I'm glad we had it early because that really prepared us for the rest of the deployment.
How long were you deployed there?
We were there for 12 months, and like I said, we were all over the place, and it was tough to transition from place to place. But even though you think all of Iraq looks the same or is the same, it's not. It's like being in the States. The difference between East, the middle, or the West. I mean, it's different, and adjusting to it took some time, and unfortunately, due to some of the adjustments that we weren't used to, we ended up losing one of our guys.
Let's talk about Afghanistan now. And that's where your life changed a great deal. In July of 2008, where were you, and what happened that day?
Well, we were in Afghanistan. We were in the Korangal Valley. So at the time, it was called the Valley of Death. This was in 2007 when we ended up going in 2007. I got injured on July 8th of 2007. We were there for about 45 days. Every other day, a firefight. I think we already had lost 2 guys, but it was a difficult tour, and it was a fight. It really was a fight. I mean, those guys know how to fight. They're bred to fight. They bring them in from different countries to learn how to fight. And who do they fight? They come and fight us. At one time they were fighting the Soviets. And it's a tough region. It really is, and it's pretty much that's all they do. And it's sad sometimes, but it's something that we got to defend or do out there as well. And we were just coming back from a patrol, and I went down to go see if our dinner was ready. And there was a position where the enemy liked to stand and shoot from and try to overrun our fire base. And I kept on looking up there, and I did it all the time as a habit. Then I went back the second time to go call my guys, and that one time I didn't look. I go and I literally said these words, "Hurry up before I get effing shot." 1 second later, RPG went off. Shrapnel severed the left side of my arm. I spun in the air by the blast. I also felt the bee sting, which was shrapnel hitting the top of my right side of my head, breaking a piece of my skull off and rubbing against my brain and giving me a little bit of brain damage. I landed on my fours. Fours meaning my arm was missing, and I landed on my stump on the left side, and I landed with my hand on the right. And I tried scooting down to go into our little fire where our sleeping area so I could get more protection. I saw rounds just bouncing in front of me, boom, 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 and I'm like, oh my God! And I went back and I tried to get on back more, and then I saw rounds bouncing behind me, boom, boom, and I'm all like, man, they know I'm alive and they're trying to kill me because I'm moving around. Then one of my sergeants, Sergeant Richardson, ran up and came to get me, and I was like, okay, I just saw these rounds bounce there. They're about to hit him. Somehow I got up and I stumbled towards him. So we met halfway. He picked me up, and then Sergeant Ehar came and helped them out as well. They got me into our little sleeping area, and the kids went to work because that's what they were. They were kids. There was no guy there that was older than 21 years old. There's 18, 19, 20-year-olds taking care of me. I mean, kids taking care of an adult, a full-grown adult with 4 kids. So they patched me up. They stopped the bleeding. They put the bandage on my head. They talked to me. They placed my arm that was missing, that was blown off. They placed it across my chest because they knew that it was giving me comfort. knowing I knew my arm was gone, but putting it on my chest gave me comfort, saying, oh, I'm still whole, even though it was blown off. So those guys took care of me. And then Staff Sergeant Simon, he came in and took charge. Next, he calls the evac. The Humvees come. They take me up the hill about 50 to 60 yards out in the open while the firefight's still going on. And my greatest fear was, leave me here. I don't want anybody else to get hurt because you're trying to save me. But I can't tell them that. They're trained to do that. I have to let them do their job. I have to let them do, as NCOs, that we taught them how to save lives, how to react to contact, how to work as a team. So, I wanted to yell so bad and say it, leave me alone, well, because I wanted to protect them, but I had to let them do their job. So they did. They took me up to the Humvee, put me in the Humvee. The Humvee doesn't close all the way because the stretcher's too long. And we start going through the mountains, and at that time, on my right side, where the door was open, it's just a cliff. You just go all the way down. Once you fall off, your Humvee rolls and you're done. Everybody there is dead. And sure enough, the driver kept it and just kept it on the side right there. And all I hear was the pink, 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 just hitting the Humvees. And the TC driver, he went ahead and stuck out his hand to hold the door down because he knew it was open. So he was holding the door down as much as he can until he dislocated his shoulder. So now he couldn't hold it down. Now my gurney is starting to slip off. So now I could see the actual ledge where I was sliding off, where I was going to fall off that cliff. So in order for me not to fall all the way down with my good hand, I had to hang on to the roll bar of the Humvee. So the whole time conscious, whole time remember all this stuff. Hold on to and sure enough, they got me back to our company fire base, which was no more than 500 yards. I mean, it was just around the corner, but the way we were stationed, in the places we were in the mountains, it could be 5 to 10 miles. So, and that's how slow you had to drive, or else you're gonna fall off the cliffs. We got there. They started treating me. The doc there, took care of me very well. My first sergeant was cursing at 82nd Airborne, just cursing at them, where's my helicopter? I want to get my guy out. But they couldn't come in because the firefight was still going on. But they took care of me. They comforted me. After my third morphine shot, they said they couldn't give me no more. And I was just in pain. I was at the time, the whole Humvee ride and everything going up to our company fire base, I was fine. Adrenaline, I guess everything just kicked up. But once it calmed down a little bit, oh my goodness, now I'm feeling it. They put me in the stretcher, strapped me up, and I don't know, they kind of messed up a little bit on the way down to the helicopter. They almost dropped me. So now they put me in the helicopter, and then once I'm in the helicopter, I see an Air Force medic, I'm assuming, and he goes, is everything okay? I go, yeah, are you all right? He goes, yeah. And next thing you know, a day and a half later, I woke up in Longitude, Germany.
I want to go back to one thing. I don't think you think it's remarkable, but I think it's remarkable. You're injured. They've literally put your severed arm on top of you, and you're worried about whether other people are in danger. You're thinking about other people even though you've been severely wounded. Is that part of training? Is that just your nature? How would you describe that?
Honestly, that's infantry. That is infantry. Those are my kids. I have my kids that my wife had, but those are my additional kids. And I want to take care of them to the fullest. My own kids saved my life. My own soldiers saved my life. And like I said, all of them were below the age of 21. And for them to do that is remarkable. It's amazing everything that they're capable and can do under stress, under fire, explosions. I mean, you name it, it was going on. You hear yelling and stuff like that, and then you get that one kid that goes, calm down, let's go. And they go over what they have to do. And it's quick, bam, 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 and they get it done. And once our Staff Sergeant Simon came in, and then he took over, then they were following orders. But before that, they were taking care of me. It's like the kids taking care of their parents at an older age. They were actually taking care of me, and it's just amazing at what they can do. And when you're there, all you can depend on is people left and right of you. That's all you can depend on. There's nobody else there. Nobody else there to come and save you. Nobody else there to help you up. Nobody. It's just them left and right, and you got to trust them. You got to trust that you trained them the way they're supposed to get trained. And nobody's prepared. Nobody's ever prepared. I mean, who goes out here and says, "Hey, shoot a couple rounds over my head. Hey, shoot a couple rounds next to me so I can know how it feels." No, that stuff doesn't happen. I mean, we're out there playing war games, but we're playing with blanks. And when we practice shooting here and there, but stuff like that, you're not ready for. You are not ready for, and all you have to do, and all you could do is react, and all you can do is hope that you train these soldiers the right way. And in my case, these soldiers were trained, these soldiers were prepared, and these soldiers, which I consider my kids, saved my life.
Ramon, we're going to take a quick break there. We'll be right back with much more from U.S. Army veteran, Sergeant First Class Ramon Padilla, on Veterans Chronicles. We're back on Veterans Chronicles. I'm Greg Corombos, honored to be joined today by Ramon Padilla. He's a U.S. Army veteran, served in Iraq and Afghanistan. We've just heard a lot about his injury that cost him his arm, and he also suffered a wound to the head. What did your medical treatment look like once the initial response was over? Where did you go? What kind of treatment did you get?
First, I ended up in Lashtul, Germany, and I was told I stopped at Kandahar. I don't know what they did. I guess take care of me and get me prepped to take me to Germany. Woke up in Germany. They're the greatest nurses in the world. I mean, I couldn't see them. I mean, my hair was blown up. I looked like an airhead. Just hearing their voices to me I was talking to angels, and they were taking care of me like that. It's amazing how these nurses really take care of these soldiers. And whether it's airmen, whether it's Marine, whether it's Navy or Coast Guard, these nurses really take care of you. At least at the time, they were taking care of us. They went over there and picked up my wife because she was in Italy with me. So they drove her to Germany to come and see me. And they knew I couldn't talk. And they go, do you want to write something to your wife? And they gave me a piece. Well, they held a piece of paper. They put a pen in my hand. And I tried my best to write, "I love you, honey, blah, 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 this and that, and this." And it's something I think she still holds with her. She still has. So, I mean, I don't ask her about it because I know she gets the medal. And I think that's her special moment. And I want to keep it like that, only hers. I know she does have something written from me at the time when I was there. So when she came, the nurses gave it to her. And finally, I was able to talk. Everything was calming down. I was going through the regular procedures we have every day. You wake up, try to eat breakfast, you talk about pain, you talk about movement, you talk about this and that. But the nurses were fantastic. To me, they were the most beautiful people in the world at that time. And they were, I mean, I can't express how much I loved them being there and how much I felt at home them being there, even though I was in Germany and even though I was on a hospital bed.
You mentioned you couldn't talk. Was that because of the head injury?
I really don't know. I think I was just stunned. I think I just couldn't. I couldn't piece anything together. It could have been. I never asked, but eventually I was able to say a word or mention something or it's just I wasn't there. I wasn't right yet. And it only took a couple of days after, and then when I was able to talk to my wife and do this and do that, and I was fortunate that they flew my brother, he was stationed in Iraq at the time. They flew him over to come and see me for about 2 or 3 days. So they did that. They also flew my parents from California all the way to Germany to come and see me. So at that time, the military couldn't do anything wrong. I mean, they were taking care of their warriors. They really were. And for me to be able to see my wife, and then next thing you know, I see my brother, and next thing you know, I see my parents, it was just like, this is wonderful. This is great. And the funny thing is when I got hurt and I couldn't go down to my little hooch area in order to protect myself, I just went down and I prayed and I said, God, I just want to see my family one more time, my wife and kids one more time. And the funny part is, well, not funny, but the neat part about this, I got to see all my family, and obviously it was just my wife. I hadn't seen my kids yet, but it was just my wife and my parents and my brother. So it was a great relief and it was fantastic. And I do have one fantastic story. And while I was at launch school, it was close to me getting ready to get on the plane and they're going to bring me to Walter Reed. So I was getting ready to do that. It took me about a week, for them to prep me to fly me. And my wife was there with me. And this is the first time I was able to go use the restroom. I went, my wife went with me. Obviously, I couldn't take care of myself. So my wife actually helped me take care of myself. And that's when you know you have a military wife, a wife that loves you, a wife that cares about you, that she's willing to be able to do that. And of course, she said first and last time. So, but that's something special that I'll never ever forget. I know she gets embarrassed when I tell this story, but it's something that needs to be told because she's part of the military as well. She's part of my recovery, and if part of my recovery requires her to wipe me, then that's what she has to do, and that's what she did. And I don't know how to just be able to give her something or do something for her to make up for that. But I don't think there's nothing. Only thing I could do is just hopefully take care of her for the rest of my life.
You are so right about military families being heroes as well. Do you have surgery to close the arm?
Yes, I had surgery there, and then I went down to Walter Reed. And I was an inpatient at Walter Reed. That's when I saw my kids for the first time. My wife explained to him, "Hey, Dad looks a little funny, so be ready, be prepared." But my kids were so small that they just jumped on the bed. And I'm yelling, "Get off the bed!" but it was I had a Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer nose at the time. It was so bright red, and I still had shrapnel that was coming out of it. And my daughter decided to put a Band-Aid on me there, and I couldn't say no. I had to let her do it, but God, it was a pain trying to take it off. So, but kids are kids, and they want to take care of their parents and their family, and that was a special moment too. And when I saw my therapist for the first time, he asked me, "So what do you expect from us, or what do you want to do?" And I told him, "All I want to do is play catch with my little boy. I go, all I want to do is hold my daughter's hand." I go, "That's all I want to do." And he goes, "We will get you there." And sure enough, now I play catch with my boys. Now I'm able to hold my daughter's hand with my prosthetics as well. And that's all I wanted. It was funny. I mean, I could have said a million things, but that's all I wanted to do because of my fond memories with my dad playing catch with them. And I wanted that to be part of my kids' lives as well, and show them how special it is to play catch with your dad. And holding my mom's hand, and I mean, I wanted to show my daughter, look how beautiful it is to hold your parents' hands and have them take care of you and walk you through the mall or through the street or whatever the case is, and really grab a hold of you and take care of you. And I was able to do that. That was just a relief as well, knowing that I was be able to get there.
We're talking with Ramon Padilla, U.S. Army veteran, Sergeant First Class. And Ramon, you talked about conversations with your therapist. At what point did you start to realize that you were dealing with post-traumatic stress?
That was a tough one. Nobody wants to claim that they have it. I never denied it, but my wife could see it sometimes. In the beginning, there wasn't any. It was, I'm not saying like a honeymoon, but it was like everything's brand new. We're experiencing stuff. Of course, we're going through some pain, but that's standard. It happens all the time. It's hard to sleep, but my wife understands that. But then, say maybe a year into it, when everything just starts to settle, then my wife starts telling me, "Do you know what you're telling the kids? When I yell at them, or when I punish them, or when I do anything." And I go, "No, I was being a parent." She goes, "No, this is what you're telling them." And it made me realize, oh my God, why am I talking to my kids like this? I'm not realizing this, but what's happening is that I'm foreseeing an injury that they might have for jumping on the couch, for running in the hallways, for doing this, and for normal kids, what they do all the time. I mean, I did as a kid too. I mean, kids do this all the time. But I was foreseeing an injury. I was foreseeing something happening to them. And that really got to me. And I took it out on them, which was not fair, but I did not realize it until my wife told me. And of course, once I realized that, then I had to go see a counselor. I got to go talk to somebody. I got to explain my situation. I got to know how to handle it. And it took me a couple years I'm saying about 3 to 5 years for me to now understand it is, okay, I got to let my kids be kids. I got to know that they're going to jump from bed to bed and they're going to miss and they're going to have a boo-boo. I got to understand that they're going to get scratches. I'm going to have to understand that might break a bone here and there. They're kids. And it was tough for me to, it took me a while for me to understand that. And I hate the part that my kids had to take a bulk of it. And it was tough. And me and my wife had arguments about that. We fought about that a lot too. And me not understanding what I was doing, me thinking I was doing the right thing, me thinking I was protecting my kids to the utmost of my ability. And for me to tell the future, no, that ain't happening. You know what I mean? I can't foresee it. I was seeing it like a movie picture in my head. Oh, this is exactly what's going to happen. But it never happened. You know, I had to let my kids be kids. And I noticed that my injuries were affecting how I felt about my kids doing their activities, let them be who they want to be. And I wasn't allowing that because I was afraid of them being hurt, being injured, being in pain like me.
You mentioned a while ago that when you were asked, what do you want to get out of this? One was to hold your daughter's hand, and the other was to play catch with your son. And it turns out there was another sport that you never even played before, or at least didn't care about, that became really important in your recovery, and it's golf, which most people would think is pretty tough when you've lost part of your arm. So how did that all happen?
Well, it was, I want to say, I was going to try it out in 2007. Then I had some surgeries that kept me from doing it. So now I did it in the spring of 2008. So they had a fall session, but I had so many surgeries, I just couldn't do it. So when spring comes, they invited me, and my therapist goes, look, man, you come every day to therapy. If you go try out golf, because it's a new program, I'll give you a day out of the week off. I'm like, heck yeah. You know, I mean, he goes, you guys got to be there 2 hours. I go, they'll feed you. You can take your family, everything cool. And some of the guys invited me to go down there. So I went down there and started, I grabbed the club and never played golf in my life and started swinging one hand. It hurt. I couldn't do it. And then Jim Estes came down, who is the founder of the Salute Military Golf Association, and he goes, oh, I need you to do this and do this. So I had a 6-iron, swang it. I hit it onto an island green about 135, 140 out. And from there on, I'm like, oh my God. And this
First
is just
try?
No. This is after I was already crying and like, oh, my hand hurts. But he was giving us lessons, right? That's part of the recovery. The golf pro will give you lessons and help you adapt with your injuries on how to play golf. And I was amazed at what I was able to do, and I felt independent. I felt free. I felt like I didn't need anybody to do this. I just needed some pointers and tips, and from there I could do it on my own. So on there goes the story, and you know, the biggest regret my wife ever had is sending me that Saturday to actually go and learn how to play golf. But
now you're out every Saturday, right?
Yes. So we ended up finishing the clinics. My hands really hurt, and they said they have prosthetics to play golf. And now I actually helped design my prosthetic where it's easier for me on my right hand as well, and a durable prosthesis where I could actually play golf and do well. My claim to fame is in 2009, I teed off with Tiger Woods on hole number 1, and I outdrove him. You know, I hit the ball, nice little draw down the middle of the fairway. And he hit his about 300 yards, but he hooked it in the rough. So technically, I outdrove him, right? Since I was in the fairway. So that's my claim to fame. And I have had some great encounters with Tiger Woods, and he's been good with the military, as you know his story with his father, and he's been great with us. So it was fun for him to tell me, man, I saw that shot, you know, and he still at times whenever I see him in some kind of event or something, he still reminds me of that shot. So it's fun to know that people do pay attention, especially at his caliber and of fame. But that game just hooked me, and what I love about it is that I could work on it myself. You know, I could, you know, I have my weapon, it's my golf club. I got my rounds, which is my golf balls, and I got a target to shoot at. You know, sometimes that ball fires back because, you know, you hit the tree and it's coming right back at you, but at least it's not a round that's buzzing right back by you, you know, and I had my ups, I had my downs. I had some good times playing golf. I had some bad times playing golf because I struggled. But the thing about that game, it lets you come back. It wants you to come back, and you want to go back, and you want to do your best, and you want to try harder. You want to get better, and you want to beat the other warriors. You know, you want to be an able-bodied guy. You know, and you know, or you just want to beat the course, or you just want to beat yourself. But it gives me a chance to express myself. I could yell, curse. You know, if I get really mad and start drinking, you know, it's a fun time out there. And like I said, it's in our environment. I mean, we have the stuff that we had as military, at least as infantrymen, a weapon, rounds, and a target to shoot at. So I could see why it attracts a lot of veterans and a lot of warriors, or a lot of wounded warriors as well.
One of my favorite stories about you is that you were golfing with President Bush, and you were trying to figure out which way the putt broke. What happened?
Well, we were invited to the first inaugural Warrior Open with President Bush, and we were at Las Colinas Country Club. And the first day was a practice round, and he was going around playing with other warriors. He came to me on a par 3. 4 of us hit the ball, including him. And I thought he was a member there. I'm thinking he's a member here. That's why he invited us here. I really didn't know how much support he was receiving on this, at the time. And I asked him, hey, sir, can you help me out? He goes, okay, Ramon, what do you need? I go, sir, which way does putt break? And, and he goes, Ramon, just make the effing ball in the hole. And then I putted, I went in. He comes behind me like he was my uncle. So I was rubbing my hair, my head. Good job. That's what I'm talking about. So it was a personal, it was a great experience, and to hear him talk like a normal person, to hear him interact like a normal person with us, it really is special, and it helped me a lot. It really did. Even though I had learned how to play golf and I was using golf, but he helped me how to help other people. He was my inspiration to continue to help my community, to help my the people I support, the people I integrate with. And that's how now I just was given an American Legion baseball team down in the city I live in, and now I'm going to teach these kids how to continue to play baseball, how to be their best, and how to use baseball to get involved in the community, and how to develop. So it's what he done during that tournament and what he done with me at that par 3 that really, that light bulb just went off and said, hey, I got to do more. It's like the time when I was working with the police department. Hey, man, I got to do more, for this, and it was the same thing. It was a awakening, and it was fantastic, and it was fun. But that experience was it was great. And I felt, like I said, I like I was playing with my uncle, like my favorite uncle, and he was fantastic.
And then you have spent a lot of time since then teaching other vets how to golf, right?
Yes. For a while there, I was going out and helping out at the SMGA clinics. I was part of their board. I made suggestions and for vets to how we could improve the program, and how could we, go out there and help the other guys with the TBI or PTSD. Obviously they need separate sessions. That way we could work on the specific problems that they want to work on. Because we talk to them and tell them, what's your worst fear or what's going on, and we use golf to work on that. But for now, it's been about 4 or 5 years now that I stopped working with them, and I went directly working with kids. And our kids need leaders. And with all these deployed warriors that became, non-commissioned officers, sergeants, lieutenants, captains, there should be enough leaders out there right now to help out our communities. The small things, doesn't have to be the big things. The small things like teaching baseball and using baseball to help them develop in life. I mean, not all kids are going to become baseball or major league players. And when I go and I talk to them, I make them understand that. But I tell the parents, I go, but they're going to develop so they can interact with their community. And I tell them, why do you play baseball? To develop. Why do you develop? To become a better person in my community. Why don't you look down so I won't feel sorry for myself? And why is a game of baseball played? To have fun. Those are the 4 things that they learn. And like I said, use baseball for it. Be patient at the plate. You gotta be patient with your brother and sister. Be patient with your parents, your teachers, with police officers. You gotta be aggressive on the base pads. You gotta be aggressive when you're at home. Hey, Mom, I'm gonna take care of this. I'm gonna mow the lawn before you even tell me to mow the lawn. That way I can have time to do. That's being aggressive. That's doing something. Taking care of my position, because that's my responsibility. Taking care of my room, that's my responsibility. Make sure I'm taking care of myself. That's my responsibility. And just using teamwork. Like help each other out. Help your brother out. Help your sister out. They have a lot of homework and they got dishes to do. Hey, I got you. Hey, I'll take care of you. Without asking nothing back. And that's the beauty about baseball, is that what you learn on the baseball field, you can use it in the community in order for you to develop, and they could take that with them for the rest of their lives. And that's what matters. And that's what a lot of our children need these days, I believe so, is they need leaders. They need people to help them develop. They need people to care about them. They need people to not be afraid to talk to them. You know, everybody's afraid to talk to kids. You might say the wrong thing. Well, say the right thing. You know what I mean? It's not hard. It's easy, and you can't just get involved with the kids. You got to get involved with the parents. You know, you got to talk to the parents. Look, this is the way I'm going to coach. This is the way I'm going to develop. If you don't like it, then there's other teams you could go to. You know, but they got to understand that you're there to help them develop their child, because I believe it takes a community to develop the kids. It really does, because they interact with teachers. They interact with people on the street. They interact with people in the grocery market. They interact with their peers, you know. And so you telling me it doesn't take a whole community to develop that child? I mean, the parents have the bulk of it, but you know, it's a lot of it has to do with the community that they hang around in. And if we could, me as a coach, if I could give them that, I give them my little piece. Hopefully, this kid will take it with him, and next, you know, he's or her are teaching other kids, you know, when they grow up, helping out the community, you know, and you know, checking in on elderly people, you know, taking out their trash, doing stuff that matters, and doing stuff that that brings a lot of hope and a lot of encouragement and a lot of happiness. You know, it makes me happy to help out somebody else, and that's my focus, and that's why I want the world or the United States to know we have all these leaders out there that need to start helping develop these kids. You know, we have people taking care of the vets. We do. We have a lot of people taking care of the vets. But the vets need to learn how to take care of our children that are coming up, because they're our future. They're the ones that are going to defend our country. They're the ones that are going to go to the next Iraq or the next Afghanistan, whatever other wars we go into. And if they're not ready, whose fault is it?
Ramon, a good challenge as we conclude our interview. Thank you very much for being with us today, and thank you very much for your service to our country.
Thank you.
Ramon Padilla, U.S. Army veteran, Sergeant First Class. I'm Greg Corombos. This is Veterans Chronicles.